Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. Man, I'm happy this seems like more of a reasonable week on the Hot 100 here, given how crazy my schedule outside of these videos is right now. And when I say reasonable, I mean that very little actually seem to make a lot of big moves, so you got a modest list of expected new arrivals, although I can't really call a lot of them all that good. And while there is some action in our top 10 we're talking about, we're at the point where things are on the cusp of really breaking open, but it hasn't quite happened yet. So let's not waste any more time, our top 10. And yes, Despacito by Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee with a remix with Bieber managed to notch a 14th week at number 1. But you can definitely tell the knives are out for this song, as its margins on YouTube and sales are slipping, streaming is in trouble, and it's soon going to be overtaken on the radio. And by what else? Wild Thoughts by DJ Khaled featuring Rihanna and Bryson Tiller. But the problem again remains that Wild Thoughts just doesn't have enough streaming and sales to effectively make a play for number 1, actually losing traction in both categories this week. I'd say that Unforgettable by French Montana featuring Sway Lee could make a play at number 3 with gains on sales and radio, but its YouTube just isn't strong enough. It actually took a hit on on-demand streaming, not a good sign. Now it's still enough to keep it above Believer by Imagine Dragons, which yes, went up to number 4 on radio traction that just will not die, but its loss on sales show that it might not be as healthy as you would think. A stronger case could be made for Attention by Charlie Puth up to number 5, which has even stronger sales and radio, but kind of lags on streaming, but it is picking up a little bit of traction there, believe it or not. It could have some health to it. And unsurprisingly, it looks like a slightly similar case for There's Nothing Holding Me Back by Shawn Mendes up to number 6. Better radio, but it looks to have peaked there, and sales and streaming are a little bit weaker overall. And yet the reason that it and the last song went up is most linked to the collapse of That's What I Like by Bruno Mars down to number 7, where it's fading in all categories, including YouTube for once. And it's not helped by some surprising development with a breakthrough into our top 10 at number 8, Bodak Yellow by Cardi B. Now, how much viability this will have going further, that's a little bit in question. It's here primarily on streaming and YouTube, and while it is picking up steam on sales and the radio, I'm not quite certain it's got enough there yet to be a considerable threat. And yet what somehow is still holding on at number 9 is Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, which might be plummeting in all categories, but with just enough YouTube and radio inertia, it held up over I'm the One by DJ Khaled and his posse, falling down to number 10, which is somehow falling even faster and harder in all categories. It'll probably be out of the top 10 pretty soon. And on that note, our losers and dropouts, and there are a fair few notable ones in the latter category this week. You have the guaranteed entries to the year-end list. They're leaving naturally. Rolex by Ayo and Tio and Passion Fruit by Drake, the latter ending Drake's 8-year continuous streak of always having a song in the Hot 100. That's kind of notable. Then you got the song that's right on the edge of making that year-end list, which is Swalla by Jason Derulo featuring Nicki Minaj and Ty Dolla $ign, and the 2 songs that'll probably end up missing the list entirely, God, Your Mama and Me by Florida Georgia Line featuring the Backstreet Boys, and Heavy by Linkin Park featuring Kiara. But where that conversation comes into sharper focus is our losers and our dropouts. First, you have the losers from the drop coming off the debut with Unforgettable by Thomas Rhett falling to 86, and You Da Baddest by Future featuring Nicki Minaj dropping hard to 87. But Thomas Rhett did not have a good week as a whole, as Craving You with Maren Morris went down to 63. Then you have the expected drop-off for songs that have stuck around frankly longer than I expected. 4 AM by 2 Chainz featuring Travis Scott to 93, and It's Going Down by the Descendants 2 cast to 96. Look, the surprise here is that this stuck around at all. Then we have right off the gain last week, Down by Fifth Harmony featuring Gucci Mane again lives up to his title at 90, which is not a good sign for that album dropping in a few weeks. But the more interesting story for me surrounds Malibu by Miley Cyrus, which is continuing down to 73, and the way it's falling pretty fast might not actually hit the year-end list for 2017. I mean, it's got a shot, sure, but it's looking closer to missing it every single day. Now compare this to our 4 gains this week, because we didn't have any returning entries. On the one hand, we got Young, Dumb and Broke by Khalid still going up to 49, and a slight recovery for Back to You by Louis Tomlinson featuring BB Rexa and Digital Farm Animals to 62. But we also have 2 gains off debuts last week that deserve some scrutiny. First is The Weeknd by SZA up to 75, and I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed by how much traction traction that SZA has built. Nothing huge just yet, but it is pretty notable. I'd sure as hell take more of her over the damn Chainsmokers, who took Honest up to 77 instead of to the pits of obscurity where that song rightly belongs. But honestly, I can't afford to waste much more brain power on why that song is lazy and awful, so let's focus instead on our list of brand new arrivals. Starting off with number 99, Havana by Camila Cabello featuring Young Thug.
He took me back to East Atlanta, all of my heart is in Havana. There's something about his manners, Havana.
So this week we got two promotional singles from Camila Cabello, both with guest rappers and both suspiciously timed to continue to put a damper on that upcoming Fifth Harmony record. Now this, according to my sources, was supposedly the good one, and you know what, for a first time with me and Camila Cabello, I'd actually agree with that. It's not a great song, sure. Young Thug is completely sleepwalking through his verse, and with all the backing producers and co-writers who's showing up with ad-libs on the song, you can almost see all the gears that's trying to muscle this into mainstream popularity. But you know what, with that sunken piano playing off the bassy simmer, the brittle percussion, and the squealing trumpets, the production actually has a pretty solid melodic groove that I like, and it actually fits with Cabello's limited range. I'm still not all that convinced that she can sell sultry in this lane. You can tell that she's trying to emulate Rihanna, and I'm not quite sure that she's at that point yet as a singer. But you know what, with the right support behind her, she comes probably closer than she ever has before. I'll give her points for that. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good song. Maybe that album might not be bad after all? We'll see. Number 95, Chillin' Like a Villain by the Descendants 2 cast.
Once you catch this feeling, you'll be chillin', chillin', oh, chillin' like a villain, chillin' like a villain, chillin'.
So let me get this straight. Disney took a line that was awful on the worst song from a 2014 Blake Shelton record, not one of his better ones, and expanded it into an entire song for their villain fanfiction? Are we seriously doing this? And what's all the more weird is that it extrapolated the painfully cheap production for a laid-back slice of tropical touch 80s new wave with the choppier bass and guitar grooves and the blaring trumpets. And sure, you can tell that the cast is a little bit more comfortable with this than the hip-hop inspired songs that previously debuted on the Hot 100, or maybe the vocal production is just a little bit more forgiving here. But when you take a look at the writing on the song, okay, if you're trying to emphasize your own personal evil side, how is saying to not be yourself helpful here? Would you want to be yourself? Your evil side? But as a whole, it's indicative of why the Descendants material reeks of bad fanfic for me. None of these people are imposing as villains. They seem to be trying to fake that sort of attitude without any sort of grounding force or real dark charisma, which just leaves the entire thing feeling forced and contrived with production that just can't back it up. Overall, okay, the sound is novel enough, good for them, it's better than most of what I would expect from them, but between the production and the writing, I can't defend this. Next, number 94, B.E.D. by Jacquees.
I know you wanna love, but I just wanna fuck. Hey girl, you know the deal. I gotta keep it real. I know you wanna see. I know you wanna be in my BED, grinding slowly.
Okay, so you're gonna have to follow me on this one. The guy behind this song is an R&B hip-hop artist who's been working behind the scenes as a songwriter for a while now, while dropping a few solo mixtapes and EPs on his own, with this track coming off of a tape that he put out in January of 2016. Seriously, he put out 3 more projects since then, so what's the special quality that finally got this on the Hot 100? Honestly, I'm not really sure, because I don't really find this all that exceptional or interesting. I guess Jacquees is better than I expected as a singer. His vocal tone screams of Usher, but for some reason he sticks with a much less interesting Chris Brown-esque delivery in that vocal range, but it's not like the production is flattering much either, placing his voice midway to the back with a massive bass beat and an oddly tinny guitar sample trying to anchor the song, and multi-tracking that feels oddly cluttered and not all that much contributing to building a stable harmony for him to work off of, especially on an outro that really could use it. And that's before we get to the content, which is about him wanting to hook up while she wants more, and the most personality that Jacquees brings to the writing is the slew of references to more interesting R&B acts, which is probably the worst thing he could possibly do on his breakthrough single here. But as a whole, it's tough tolerable. The guy's got potential, but I don't really think he's playing to his strengths as a whole, so I guess we'll see where this goes. Number 84, Perplexing Pegasus by Ray Sremmurd.
All kind of reckless, I flexed it. Keep the change, yeah, you heard me correctly. If she sleek and foreign, call her Lexus. Every week of foreign, I just check a wish list. Only thing I'm here for is perplexing. Caterpillar whip, and I lowered it.
Okay, when I see a song with that title, you don't expect to see it coming from Ray Sremmurd. I mean, come on, it sounds like a junk rare from Magic the Gathering, not a lead-off single from Shrem Life 3, so what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Well, apparently the Pegasus is new slang for foreign cars with scissor doors, and it's supposed to be perplexing because Ray Sremmurd always in the no flex, so okay, stop with this. I'm not gonna dignify this, mostly because the whole no flex zone thing, they were always flexing. This isn't perplexing, it's just a retroactive attempt to justify complete inconsistency. And yet the sad fact is that that whole discrepancy there is easily the most interesting thing about the song. The melody is a 4-note progression against your regular bass swamp trap beat that piles on more glossy layers to try and disguise how often Slim Jimmy's voice is just breaking here. At least Sway Lee seems to be learning how to sing a little bit better, I'll give him points for that, but it still doesn't make up for content that is completely empty of anything interesting or distinctive from any other Ray Sremmurd song. So yeah, while Ray Sremmurd have made worse songs, they've also made a couple better ones, and if they're heading towards the forgettably mediocre side of their careers where French Montana has always been, I guess I'll take a hard pass on this. Next, number 82, What About Us by Pink.
What about all the broken happy ever after? What about us? What about all the plans that ended in disaster? What about love? What about trust? What about us?
So here's the unfortunate truth. Despite being a longtime fan for years now, it's been a really long time since I've been able to endorse a Pink song without any qualifications. Hell, with the massive disappointment of Just Like Fire, she made my worst list in 2016. I was having a really hard time getting excited about a new Pink album or even a breakthrough single, especially as it was unlikely that she would ever return to the pop rock of her peak where her voice really fits well. And yeah, this song doesn't really go there, and in a sense, I kind of wish it would have. This is a song that seems tailor-made for a larger audience who put their faith in a larger figure who promised them the world and then never really delivered, which is kind of weird because given the pretty obvious political undertones of this song, it raises the question that if Pink ever expected said person to deliver on his promises, as I'm fairly certain she was voting for the other side. And if all my language here seems pretty vague and pretty capable of targeting figures on both the left and the right, well, it's sadly indicative of much of the song too, because in recent years, Pink has had a bad habit of sliding towards cliche and indistinct language, and the writing on this song falls into that category. This is not Dear Mr. President sort of thing. And yeah, that can play towards populism, but ultimately feels kind of hollow to me. Too broad for its own damn good. And the instrumentation doesn't really help. A desaturated piano surrounded by hazy backing vocals, a choppy acoustic guitar that's got no texture or body. The entire song is entirely reliant on Pink's voice or any sort of emotional intensity. And yeah, of course she delivers. She sounds great here, but I truly wish there was more to actually deliver on this song. So overall, I think I get where this is going, but man alive, this could have been done so much better. Number 81, OMG by Camila Cabello featuring Quavo.
You cannot believe it when we come through. My God, you look good today. My God, you look good today. Yeah. Back up, do it slow mo. When she drop it, bounce back like a yo-yo. My God, you look good today. You look good today. Yeah. Oh my God.
So with the buzz suggesting that this was the bad Camila Cabello song released for promotion this week featuring Quavo, because it's 2017, of course it is, I had no real expectations for this. And it turns out that was a fair assessment on my part, because what we have here instead is Stargate trying to fuse the success of Low Life's dank oppression and a fragment of masks off flute melody with Cabello trying and mostly failing to show off some sort of swagger and your generic Quavo verse. And really, Camila Cabello really is the problem here. Flubbing rhymes, nowhere close to the intensity or bite height to convincingly hold her own, especially against this production when she's talking about some other girl's ass bouncing up and down like a yo-yo, and then really I've got no clue whether or not she's referring to herself or not. At least Quavo has the cushion of auto-tune to save him against the thicker bass and disguise the fact that, yet again, he's not saying anything of substance either, but still, not enough to redeem a song that feels like a facsimile of some already mediocre tracks and a series of interpolations from songs that were also never really all that good or above mediocre. So again, kind of dreary and kind of lousy all the way around. Next, number 76, Patty Cake by Kodak Black.
I whip from Germany, I'm cooler than LL. I'm sipping on Bel Air, my chick from Bel Air. My whip from Germany, I'm cooler than LL. I clap a nigga like Patty Cake. I clap a nigga like Patty Cake. I'm swaggin', I got flavor, I got sauce. Call me Ragu, I love my baby girl. Pussy ball, call her Caillou. I clap a nigga like Patty Cake.
Okay, seriously, do we really need more songs from Kodak Black right now? Especially if they're gonna be called Patty Cake, which according to the hook is how he claps back at people. And if you think that's all the bad lines that Kodak Black spews as he tries and mostly fails to stay on the beat, oh, you haven't heard nothing yet. I love my baby girl pussy bald, call her Caillou. I'm about to snatch your baby girl and skeet all on her face. It's either I win or you lose. I won't accept defeat. Yeah, not really an either or choice here there, buddy. And finally, I'm the shit, baby girl, so I have stains on my drawers. All against a piano line, which is apparently sampled from Final Fantasy X, paired with your beyond basic trap beat. Can we just move on to something that isn't embarrassing for everyone in the immediate vicinity? But you know what? On the topic of people who probably don't deserve more attention, finally at number 70, The Race by Tay-K.
Beat that case, bitch, I did the race. Beat it up, where I nut shorty face. Eli blast, cracking foes like a vase. Pop a nigga, then I go out my way. Do the dash, then I go out the way. Rob a nigga shoes, rob a nigga lace. We tryna see 100 bins in our face.
So here's the story behind The Race. Apparently this guy Tay-K was involved in a home invasion that was responsible for somebody's death. So since Texas has the death penalty and he expected that he'd be tried as an adult, Tay-K cut his ankle monitor for house arrest and then fled across several states to New Jersey, where he was caught and is likely going to be extradited back to Texas. And yet apparently along the way he quickly recorded this and was strategically releasing this in order to build up hype for some sort of rap career, which seems remarkably stupid if you're trying to avoid public attention for charges of murder. And you know, I'd be at least somewhat forgiving if the song was at all any good, but the sad fact is that it's really not. As a rapper, Tay-K isn't all that impressive on this flute-anchored trap beat, though it does have a pretty thick bass tone that I actually kind of like. As he rhymes words with themselves, flubs more rhymes, can't stay consistently on the beat, and can't even bring any sort of interesting punchlines to his references of robbing people and killing people. The only real hook I can see to this is his backstory behind the song, but it's not like he's showing insight or remorse or even enough of a presence to add intensity to the track. It's just more mediocre trap rap, which we already have too much of already, and pretty thinly spread to boot. For the most part, probably would skip this too. So yeah, while I was mostly okay with our charts this week, our new arrivals are really kind of bad across the board, from underwhelming to just plain outright crap. It's not a good sign when I think that Havana by Camila Cabello featuring Young Thug is probably the best of the week, and I can't in good conscience give out any honorable mention. That Pink song just does not get there for me. Instead, we can have two dishonorable mentions here. One for The Race by Tay-K, and the other for OMG by Camila Cabello featuring Quavo. You know, you're not getting off the hook this week, with the worst easily going to Patty Cake by Kodak Black, where its awfulness is amazingly obvious to pinpoint for everyone around. Let's let this not be a hit. Let's pray that next week is going to be better than this, but I'm going to be shooting those videos from on the road, so it's going to be an adventure wherever that is. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.